when 2 or 3 are gathered.
Para alam nyo, kaya lang ako nandito dahil hindi pwede yung tatay ko. Yan ang totoo.
Yeah,
Yan ang totoo yan. Hindi pwede yung tatay ko.
Kaya instead of 1 generation, you have to talk about 2 generations.
Mas naging cool, pero sa totoo lang, ako, sub lang ako, sub.
Unahin na natin si Miss Ilyn. Kasi, ayan, your father is Rudy Florese. Ayan. Tapos yun nga, kasabayan niya yung kasabayan ba niya? Sila Sir Rico, sila Manhal?
Oo. Si Rico Rival actually is godfather ng kapatid ko.
Okay.
They're good friends from, kahit nung college USTC Manila.
Yes.
Tapos ang papa ko UP. So, ewan ko kung ba't sila nagkakilala ng dalawa. They're friends. Kaya, ninong yung kapatid ko.
Wow. That's
Malapit na
great.
Yun yung Manila batch.
So, yung dad mo, when you started, diba, so lumaki ka, I suppose, na ang daming comics sa iyo.
Yes, sa comics ako din natutunan ko sa. Kasi ang daming complimentary comics. From Gasi. Every time luluwas ang papa ko, pag-uwi niya, ako, yun agad ang una. Siyempre, pagkamano ko, akin yan. Parang ganun. Hindi na ako nalilito.
Wow. So, ano yung mga naaalala mo sa dad mo when he does comics?
Well, lagi siya nasa bahay. Parang kami ni Jenny ngayon. Lagi siya nasa bahay. Hindi ko naranasan yung umalis for work. Pero nung sila dalawa ng parents ko, kasama namin everyday. 24/7. Hindi kami, yun naalala. Tapos, there were people coming over, mga friends niya, si Mang Elfie, tapos merong paminsan yung mga tinuturoan ng papa ko nun na mga, pero hindi sa comics na punta, sa iba sila napunta parang sa mga, dito creative arts, doon sila napunta, pero nag-train sila sa papa. Oo, tapos may mag-letter or ano na tinuruan din ng papa.
Sorry.
No.
Tapos, ano yun, so nung time yun, pero hindi mo never mo naisipan na, magko-comics
No,
ka na.
never. Kasi, kaya nga ayoko mag-asawa ng comic book artist.
Oh,
Kasi,
Kwento mo yan.
kasi, lagi na lang, may pupuntahan kami, hindi ako makakasama, may deadline ako. Alam mo yun, lagi mo, ano ba yan, excuse na ba yan? Pero which is hindi naman, talagang may deadline. So, kasi nung araw, di ba, every week
Yes.
kailangan may sasubmit ka. End of the week, kailangan masasubmit mo yun. So talagang walang, paminsan-minsan lang talaga nagkaka-break na we can go, na you have to force it, you have to make time for it, para you can go, na wala nila sa swimming deadline. Ayoko na, hindi ako mag-asawa ng comic book artist. Mura lang deadline. Ayun,
A few years after.
Ayun na nangyari. Nakapangasawa ng comic book artist. Kaya Jerry is very careful not to tell me na hindi ako, with deadline. Very careful siya. Hanggang ngayon, hindi siya ganun. Oo.
Kasi alam niya.
Alam niya, ayoko.
So nung lumaki kayo, yung dad mo palagi ka nandun sa nakakasama sa ano?
Oo, hindi siya nakakasama. And lately na, yung later na lang yung hindi na masyado. Pero hindi rin, talagang, he was so...
So araw-araw siya nag-drawing?
Yes, every
Araw-araw.
day. As in, every day.
Pagkagising, hanggang sa mata.
Yes, tapos yung pagkagising hanggang sa... Mayroong kwento. Ito nakakatuwa. Kasi mayroong dinodrawing ng papa ko. Kanya yung story. It's about this witch. Gusto niya yung... ang pangalan ng witch is Meridian. Anyway, so, may ginagawa niya yung story. Hindi ko pa maintindi sa kanya. Pag dinodrawing niya yung story niya, sa gabi niya ginagawa ito. Alam mo, to the point na dumating yung time na siguro mga 3 issues in, ayaw na niyang gawin. Kasi natakot na siya doon sa sarili ng kwento. Ayoko na. So pag nung ginagawa niya yung gano'n, hanggang nung gabi, tinigil niya. Tapos, natulog siya, nagtalokmong siya. Ayoko na yung gagawin.
Kwento niya?
Kwento niya.
Yeah, he writes novels, di ba?
Konti lang kasi, politics yun eh.
Okay.
Oo. They were not, there were writers complaining. Yung mga artists. Kasi nawawala sila ng artists.
Okay.
Kapag sumusulat yung ibang artists ng kanilang sarili. Kasi nababawasan sila ng ano eh. Well, at least, yun yung kwento ng tatay ko.
Kumbaga parang ayaw ng art ng writer na nagsusulat din yung artist.
Ayaw ng
Sana.
artist.
Oo.
Ayaw ng ibang
Ayaw ng
artist.
writer.
Ayaw ng writer.
Yung nagsusulat yung artist kasi wala din sila.
Actually,
That's my work.
Actually, isa lang yung isa lang yung very vocal about it. Yung iba naman okay sila. Isa lang yung very vocal about it. So, naiinis ang tatay ko. Siyempre, kung malakas yung pull ng writer, dun sa editor, di ba? Pati yung mga editorial staff, sasabihin sa kanya, hindi naman sila sabi sa kanya, you stop. Ang papa ko very sensitive sa ganyan. I mean, i-suggest lang sa kanya, tigil na ako. Hindi katulad ngayon eh, yung hindi mindset. I'll do it on my own. Kasi
Hindi, unheard of kasi yun.
nung time na yun.
Wala talaga. Walang self-publishing.
Wala.
tools.
Ay, ma'am, konting background lang. Like, sino yung...
Yung
Dahil,
ako?
pagkating mga word niya, hindi,
Yeah.
para lang sa
Okay.
viewers, para lang like, konting background
See,
lang.
walang tayong
Yeah.
structure. Sige. Ang work ng papa ko,
Pangalan mo.
Rudy Florese. Rudy Florese, and he worked for Legacies and Miranda and Sons. Doon sa Legacies, iba-iba. Ang nung 80s, ang kanyang writer essentially si Elena Patron. Elena Patron. She's one of those. She's known at the time. Na nagiging movies nga yung kanyang...
It's very rare that we hear female writers of that.
Oo, hindi. Sila Hilda Olvidado,
Si Ma'am
Elena
Elena.
Patron. Marami yan. Siguro mga yung well-known. Sila yung naging... Elena Patron, naging movies nga yung kanyang stories. Tapos when he was younger, he was one of the artists ng Kenkoy, ni Mang Tony Velasquez.
Okay.
Naging parang anthology siya, yung one whole story. Ganun. Kasi nung una, yung Kenkoy, di ba? Ang story is si, tsaka ang artist, si Mang Tony.
Yes.
And then later on, nagawa siya ng kwento, very short story lang, sa papas na sa artist. Ayun, one of the artists ay we have two complete stories ng original art na isa nasa museum, isa nasa bahay namin. Sayang na, yun lang yun lang.
Talaga?
Oo.
What are the other things na ginawa niya?
Sa abroad, Tarzan and Korak. Noong 70s.
Hindi siya, he's not one of the artists na pumunta sa US.
No. Dito din lang talaga siya sa Philippines. Hindi na kami maiwan.
Which is
Oo.
good, I suppose.
Okay lang yun, para may katulong ako sa mga project ko, sa plate ko, nung college ako. Papa, deadline na! Halika, ano kailangan mo? Tulungan kita.
Daya.
Daya na. Mabilis sabay-sabay yung design, yung history, lahat yun, yung drawing. Ano ba, kulang mo.
Ayan. Si Zach naman, we know naman your dad, so let's talk about yung grandfather mo naman. I rarely hear about your grandfather din. Kasi post-war siya. So,
Yes.
so tell us, ano yung mga nakikwento sa'yo about your grandfather?
I actually did meet him. So, hello sa mga viewers natin. But my grandfather was Hugo Yonzon Jr. He was named after his dad. And then my dad is Hugo Yonzon the third, and I'm the fourth.
Oh.
And my son is the fifth. So Hugo Yonzon Jr., he is a painter. So he's known mostly for his painting. No? So he has a lot of different styles. Contemporary niya sila Malang. So yan yung mga kaibigan niya actually. Malang is a very close friend. So si Lolo, actually, Lolo is a career painter. He's a career artist. He took jobs as just like all the other mga artists na kilala ko, advertising. Okay, for a time he was a graphic artist sa advertising firm. But also he was an art director for a newspaper. I think it was the Tribune, not sure. Nasa notes ko na kasi maliit. But he worked for the newspaper. So he was a painter and he had 14 children. Okay, so he was a very prolific man in many senses of the word. He was a very prolific person. He was a prolific artist and prolific dad. So he had 14 and he raised all of those kids purely on the strength of painting. So it wasn't a lavish childhood or upbringing. Okay, so ang kwento palagi sa akin ng tatay ko palagi silang they would do chores and everything. No, but they essentially raised kasi my grandmother was a housewife. So it was all him who was the breadwinner of the family. And then it was just through art. So he would paint and then he put all 14 children through school. Well, 13 because one of them passed away really early, really young. But what lalo na sa Komikon tayo, but what my grandfather is known for usually when they hear like, at least yung matatanda na nakakaalala sa kanya, si Hugo Yonzon, siya ang cartoonist ng Sakay and Moy, which is an old comic strip sa newspapers, no? Long before, it was about, si Sakay and Moy is a jeepney driver and his conductor. May conductor kasi dati yung mga jeep parang ganun na ata. So yun yung mga adventures ni Sakay and Moy. In fact, my nickname growing up, si Sakay. Hindi ko alam bakit. Kasi mukha akong matanda ng
Kaya ka
bata.
ba naging Zach?
No, kasi Hugo Zacarias ako. Hugo Zacarias ako. Pero ang palaya ko nung bata ako, si Sakay. No, parang hindi ko alam ano yun
Maybe you
Kasi,
look like the character.
pangit yung character Pero the point is, kasi yung pamilya ko, ma-Alaska talaga yan Sa side ng dad ko, puro Alaska yun, mga Alaska dub talaga yan. So siguro yung palayaw na yun was pang-asar na dumikit lang. So anyway, I grew up sa akin. So si Lolo, what I remember about him, so he's very prolific. Mahilig siya sa porn. No, I have to say that. Parang yun yung isa sa mga naalala ko growing up. But no, kasi he would work on his paintings like clockwork. It was work for him. It was very, very, very disciplined. He would wake up and then he had a studio. He would paint from X hours to X hours, and that was it. It was very disciplined. And as an artist kasi sa atin, marami sa mga kabataan, marami sa natin, hindi ako inspired. No, ganyan, hindi ako inspired. Wala ako sa mood or whatever. No, my grandfather treated his art or his work talagang as work. So he would wake up every day and then he would paint every day. He would have, he was an oil painter. So he had a palette of oil paints, tapos nandito yung kape niya. Tapos nandito yung baso niya. Hindi ko alam pa paano niya hindi na mix.
Oh no, parang natapang na yung kape ko.
Tapos yung aso niya, si Clyde, palaging katabi niya yan. So, he was a painter. And then, ang ano lang kasi sa akin, with my grandfather is that he was not a very sociable person. Not a very, and I think you know this na in art, in any art form, you need to know how to market yourself. Diba? Maraming magagaling na artists na they don't get the due recognition. And I'm biased because I've seen my grandfather's work and I've seen his incredible work. And growing up kasi magaling ako mag-drawing. No? So magaling ako mag-drawing sa mga class ko. Wow, galing mag-drawing ito. Tapos nakakita na yung trabaho ng lolo ko. Sabi niya, wala ka pala sa lolo mo. Kasi meron siyang drawing natin yung Humphrey Bogart, lapis lang, parang yung mga nakikita mo sa YouTube na photographic style. So nakita ng mga tago pa ata. So when he passed away in 1990, when was that? 1997, I think. So when he passed away, that drawing was out. Just kept, actually makita yung mga kaklase ko, parang, shit, hindi ka ganyan mag-drawing. Kala nila magaling na ako. So anyway, so my grandfather was never a good salesman. No? So anybody in the art world, you know this, salesmanship is part of the craft. Salesmanship is part of the deal. In any art, musicians or whatever, no, it's very rare that you go by on your sheer talent. It's either you sell yourself or you have somebody selling you, right? You're a very, very talented musician. You have agents who will sell you, right? You know, so he had nothing like that. So he had his legacy as a painter was mostly unnoticed. No, he had good collectors, but you know his price range essentially was it remained certain. Kasi alam naman natin maraming artists. Alam natin to lahat. You know, I know there are collectors here. There are artists who are not as talented, but know how to sell themselves, right? And then they go very far. No? You know, whether or not that's fair, that's just how it is. No? So my grandfather always, yung sinasabi natin na, we always pushed for him to be nominated as a national artist. His body of work. If you can Google it, and then my father's supposed to come out with a coffee table book with his art. It's really, really wide. You know, there are some people who have settled into certain styles, like sila Malang have like this blockbuster style that pinagkikitaan na yung mga ganyan. Maraming artists na gano'n, but my grandfather didn't have one specific style. Sila Botong, diba? Sila Botong had a specific style na yung mga the block colors. No? So it was hard to pin him down in the sense that he would not have a particular style na, pag nakita mo, Yonzon yan, or like you have like a tululus yan, or their specific styles. I think that was his failing as an artist because he did not have a specific style that was his own. You know? At least I would think so. Except that as far as his skill, mechanical skill is concerned, he was very, very top of his class. No? So yeah, so that was my father. That was my grandfather. In fact, my grandfather had such a huge shadow over the family as an artist that my dad, for the longest time, avoided getting into the arts. He was fine arts sa UP, but he did not want to compete against my dad. So he didn't want to become a painter. He had one show in college. Oh, he had one show in college, and then he did not want to become an artist. He ventured into film, so he would direct documentaries and stuff. But eventually, ito yung nangyari ngayon. He was also into comics. Meron din siyang not as popular na he had a strip in various dailies, and then he became the president of the SKP. And I think my dad, I don't know who's met my dad. You met my dad, yeah? So we visited him sa San Pablo. He's pushed for comics a lot. No, yung Mango Comics namin like 15 years ago, that was just him pouring his love into that, you know, and he poured a lot of his resources into it. No, and of course it was a very hard venture. Everybody knows comics is a really, really hard venture.
Wait lang.
Okay. So so my dad, he was pushing comics, and then eventually ngayon nagpipinta-pinta na rin, di ba? So parang wala kang takas, di ba? Parang gano'n. So ako naman, I actually started with comics really early. I had a comic strip in a national daily at the age of when I was in grade 6. So I was one of those yung mga prodigies na paglaki mo parang normal tao lang pala. Yung madali mo ka lang pagbata, pagkatanda mo, pareho na lang kayo. Pantay lang kayo. So, I had a comic strip in a national daily, and then it was in the Manila Times, and then in the Tribune, and then I went to Philippine High School for the Arts. But it was after that, after high school, hindi na ako nag-art. So I had like mga artworks and that. So iba talaga, I think at a certain point, you want to do something different from what your parents do or your grandparents do. But eventually, you're going to fall back into that. Like, my dad eventually started painting again. And then he's right now, he has a photography book out. He has a photography book on women. Its title is Babae, which is erotic photography.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so yun yung aking background. Those are my two influences, as in generations of artists. And si Lolo, he has 14 children. He has how many sons? It's like mga 5 or 6 of them are male, and then like 3 or 4 are artists. So si tatay, and then si Tito Mike is also a cartoonist, caricaturist, and painter. Si Tito Toto. So all of yung magkakapatid. And then si Tito Joe is a very, very good photographer. So all of them are lean towards the arts, no? So yun din. So yun yung out of all of them, I think ang pinakamagaling na salesman si tatay ko. I mean, salesman sarili. So hindi salesman na commercial salesman, but like somebody who knows how to at least deal with people. So that's my background. That is my grandfather, who is a painter. My father, who is a comic book publisher and I guess figures sa Philippine comics. I don't think I can understate what my father has done to push Philippine comics. Like si Jerry. Jerry's very, very passionate about Philippine comics. The way that yung kanyang yung museum, and then on my father's side is he really tries to bring up local talent. And this is one thing that I can see from my father is that, and this is without a joke, is that he would put his artists before him. Kasi alam niya kung ano yung magkano kinikita ng mga SKP eh. No? So sa mga cartoonista ng Pilipinas, you wouldn't believe the rates of each comic right now. It's really peanuts. It's peanuts, and people, it has not grown so much from those times, and it's really hard to make a living as a cartoonist. You know? So what my dad tried to do or tries to do to this day is to get these people jobs. When we started Mango Comics back in 2001 or 2000, we tried to pay as top rate as we could. I mean, of course, we couldn't compete. We didn't have the money. We were not Gokong Ways. We were not. So we as much as we could, we would try to have decent rates for inkers, pencilers at that time. No, 1,000 per page or something like that. That parang ngayon it sounds like a joke, right? Because if you compare it naman talaga to Marvel or whatever, medyo malayo. But for the local scene, it was what we could do. And that was important. And also it was important that what we created was shared. This was a philosophy that my father and I discussed. Like when we came out with Mango Jam, which is an anthology of girls, it was women writers, women artists, women editors. Ako lang yung silent layout artist. Pero we made sure that the creations that these people made belong to them. When we did Muahaha, si Johnny, for example, si Johnny Johnny Balbon. What's my favorite? One of my favorite is completely Jerry's, right? It's completely Jerry's. It's si Freely, no, one of the people who started with Muahaha, also a lot those years ago, si Ga and Go. All of their characters belong to these people. We just published them. It was very different from, kasi the philosophy that we came up with, if you guys follow comics, you know how the history is. Like, sa Marvel before, you create something under their banner, kanila yun, right? Mango Comics, we tried to do that. We didn't have the money to do that. We didn't have the business acumen for that. We didn't have a lot of things. And I think it was medyo ahead of its time. Hi, Nay! Si tatay.
Wala.
Okay, so wala pa rin. Sub pa rin talaga ako. So, what he really tried to do was really push that. I think we were ahead of its time kasi what we were doing with Maha before, meron kami yung mga text jokes. Oh my God, we would have been a hit in the age of social media. If Twitter had been around, oh my God, yung jokes namin, yung mga SMS jokes pa dati.
Yeah.
ang tawag namin har-scopes. Which was, you know, the stupidest horoscopes. Oh my God, it was so funny. But ahead of its time. No? So that's the legacy that my grandfather has as a painter and as a comic artist, and of course the legacy that my father is still building now. I'll wait for him till he's done, and maybe I can do something. But right now that's it. So we have right now 2 generations of artists. I even though I was in comics and even though I was involved with Mango Comics, my father and I had very different ideas of how to do things. So we didn't work together for a long time. But what I did was now I do cakes. Medyo artistic din kasi custom cakes. And then yun. Art pa rin.
Yeah. Siguro Ilyn first. You're right now, like, what are you doing, or rather, are you interested in preserving the legacy, or how's it part of your current
I'm helping
plan,
out.
right?
I'm helping out Jerry when it comes to that, and that's aside. I'm an architect, so I'm
Yeah.
working as an architect. Pero yung about comics, yeah, I'm helping him out. Whatever it is, kasi we share the same ideas about heritage preservation. It's the same thing. That's what I'm working on sa amin, heritage preservation architecturally. So it's the same thing for me, similar. So comics naman. So I'm helping him out.
And what?
My father. Here's the thing about my father, right? He's a very driven and ambitious man, right? He is concerned about pushing Filipino comics to the fore. He was part of the failed, Komikon Asia last year, the very controversial, but he was only part of that as running the graphic novel contest, which had a prize of 50,000 pesos. Which is great for like Philippine graphic novels. That's crazy. So they were able to get funding for that. So my dad is really concerned about giving Filipino artists, Filipino comic book artists in particular, an avenue or more, I guess, more channels. No, it's so as far as his legacy is concerned, I think that's secure. He does that. I don't have to work to preserve that, or my grandfather and my father is taking care of my grandfather's coffee table book and trying to make sure that's his thing. That's their thing. I don't care about my legacy in particular, but I do have plans to get back into art. Okay, kasi I don't like talking about things when they're not there. So right now, I just say that I do love comics. I've always had a comic. In fact, I had a comic slated to come out in 2003. It was may ads na sa comics namin. But it never came out because I never finished it. Also because I wasn't happy with how it came out, and I'm glad actually that it didn't come out when it did, because I would not have been happy with the art. Because I'm writing in actually if just as a background there, I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I'm a writer. Currently, I'm a film critic for Esquire, and also contribute for Spot. But basically, I love comics, but the viability of comic books is something that I haven't figured out. You know, it's something that I haven't figured out. Even the Americans can't figure it out. Their sales are not great. Everybody still makes comics and hopes it gets made into movies, into toys. So the viability of the comic itself is not something that I figured out. I want to, but until I figure out how to make it self-sustaining, or I know it's not. You know, I have a family. I have 3 kids. So it's not something that you can go into willy-nilly. You get self-published and throw 20, 30, 50,000 into it and then not expect it back. Yeah?
Unlike nung time ko, no, I went to a really good school. I went to both of me and my brother went to a good school. We had a house. So
Yeah,
relatively comfortable, but it's all comics.
All comics, hindi na pwede
Hindi na
yan
pwede.
Hindi na pwede yan. It's so different now. And then, it's really hard because I love the art form. but it cannot compete with YouTube. I love the art form, but it cannot compete with a smartphone. I still buy, like, there's a resurgence of good comics now. Right now I'm buying the Hickman runs, the X-Men, which is the first time that I bought single issues in a long time. I would always just get collected editions, but with the Hickman run of X-Men, because I'm such a huge X-Men fan, and I guess for the last decade, talagang bastos sila kasi binabastos sila dahil wala sila sa Disney, di ba? Kaya talagang kawawa. Maski the funny thing is, even the writing of the comics was really, really bad because they would kawawa yung X-Men sa comics. If you guys are fans of the comics, because Disney didn't own the property, the movie property to the X-Men, the writing was bad. Kasi biruin mo, Inhumans yung mga naging bida. Kasi sa kanila yung rights. So Inhumans were on the forefront. The Terrigen Mist killed mutants. Kawawa mga mutants ever since. So ngayon, bumabalik na sila. They're my favorite. Mas gusto ko ang X-Men kaysa sa Avengers. Ako pakialam kay Iron Man, ako pakialam kay Captain America. Yan. Kaya,
Nobody knew Iron Man before.
Oh, nobody knew. Well, I mean, there are fans, no? But now everybody's like, Iron Man, Captain America. Pero ako, the X-Men were my heroes, right? So now, but nasa Disney na ulit yung rights, diba? So gumaganda na ulit yung comics. So I'm now picking up comics. But it's hard. Now you can't make a living out of it. Like, the only way people make a living is if they work for foreign companies.
Yes.
Right? Wala na. Liwayway or all of those. They no longer exist. You can't make comics now. But there has to be a solution. There has to be like, I'm concerned about preserving the art form. But I don't know how you can preserve the art form in its current state. As a flip thing, considering so many people have devices to read on. Very few people, even this is collectors, and I do this because I love supporting local, and Arnold's my friend, and I love his work. I would pay for this, right? But everybody reads. You spend like 80% of your waiting time looking at your phone. Even the books that you read, even the things that you watch, it's on your phone. Meron na rin app ngayon, which is yung Comixology and everything like that. I don't know if you guys have that on your phone. I have it. I have certain issues on it on my phone, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yes.
So I believe in comic books. I don't know how it can survive in its current form. It's always going to be around, but it will never have the same hold as it did. And that's the reality. That's the reality, because the reality is back then, comics were your smartphones. Inaabangan ng mga tao every week. Ngayon, mas madami nang ginagawa ng mga tao eh. 10-minute video lang hindi naman panood dahil ang dami pa pwedeng gawin eh. Samantalang noon, paglabas ng comic, nandar na, oh shit, abang na ako next week, tapos atat ka, hinihintay mo. Kasi walang magawa noon. Ngayon, kasi sobrang daming gawin, hindi mo na alam. Comics is just one of the many things that take up your time. And it's not even as compelling because so people are like so excited, yeah. And then when children read the comic books, it's so hard to capture their imagination because they've already seen a real live action Iron Man. They've already seen Tony Stark move, special effects. So when they pick up a comic book, how does it capture your imagination as much? It's hard. It's really, really hard. That's sad for me because I have children. I have children whom I want to turn to comic books. They will get the love of that. But it's really hard because it's competing against so many different media. Video games, where they can partake of the story. So I don't know how comic books, as they are, going to survive. I love it, but I don't know if there's still a point in, this still sounds so bad. But the reality is like, you can make your Ashcan, you can make your, and then you have this Komikon, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, how do you capture people's imagination the same way that you do? You just can't. You have to adjust in some way. There has to be like, excuse me. You have to be available in other media. You have to have your Facebook page. Pag may comics ka, kailangan meron kang Facebook group para mapag-usapan nyo. I mean, si budget stress was huge before the internet broke big, before social media broke big. So it already has fans, di ba? So the artwork is there, and you have a loyal following of people, and it can continue to grow, and people continue to grow because they have groups. They can discuss comics. So, the question was, balik na lang sa tanong, just to be straight. How do you plan to continue the legacy of your parents as a comics? I would like to. The desire is there. But for me, it's always like figuring out the solution because we can't do the same things that they used to. I certainly can't do what my dad did 15 years ago and self-published. Basically, it was self-publishing. He published with his own money. Okay, very foolishly. Don't do that, comic guys.
We'd rather be foolish.
but you wanted kasi to. I say foolish, but I don't mean bad. No, but it's foolish pa rin. Feel foolish. But you wanted to continue. Because unless you're like a multi-billionaire, it's not going to last. That's what I'm saying. It has to be able to sustain itself. That's the important thing. So for me, I was like, I want to do this. I want to continue. I want to I still have that comic story. That comic story that I had to publish in 2003. I still have the scripts. Okay, I had the drawings na. I look at them now and I'm like, wow, ganun pala ako mag-drawing. Actually, recently nag-drawing ako ulit. Tapos nakita ko yung drawing ko, parang mas magaling ako mag-drawing dati. Pero ngayon, mas magaling na ulit ako dun sa lumang. Mas magaling na ako ngayon kaysa dun sa dati ko.
Naging rusty lang.
Naging rusty lang pala. But my point is like, if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to go back, if I'm going to return to comics, it has to make sense. As in, financial sense. Not, and I don't mean it in a pagkikitaan ko to kind of sense. It has to make sense in that if I do this, mapapaaral ko pa rin yung anak ko kind of sense. Yung ganon, you know? Because I have 3 kids. They're all going to school. They're very expensive. So, I have to, they're cannot be. Kaya nagawa ng tatay ko yan, nung matanda na siya eh. Wala na siya pinapaaral eh, tapos na eh. He was only able to come out with Bangko Comics. All of his children were finished schooling. There's no way that happens while you're still So right now you're right. You can be foolish while you don't have kids.
Yes.
You know, you can be foolish. You don't have kids. You don't have anyone to worry about.
Adulting.
But adulting is so crazy. So parang, and then you realize, shit, maybe I should have come out with that Ashcan years ago or something. But it's okay. You know, you can just wait. I'm patient. But it has to make sense. That's all I'm saying. It has to make sense. It has to be viable. Sustainable, viable. Kaya nga masaya yung Kickstarter eh. Pero walang Kickstarter Pilipinas eh, di ba? You have to have a partner in
They
this
have
space.
yung mga, aside from
Indiegogo,
Kickstarter, there's yung mga GoFund sites.
But I like Kickstarter because it is really a platform for projects. Actually, Patreon also. Patreon is a great platform for projects.
Si Jerry has Patreon.
Kasi he had to stop. Kasi hindi niya makontinue yung pin-rubbies niya dun sa dahil gawa ng X-Men.
Siya nag-iim kay Neil eh. Parang tag team sila ni Neil, di ba?
Yes.
So yeah, yung kinokolect ko ngayon. All of the X-titles. So far, that's a really good run. So yeah, it has to make sense. It makes sense for the States. But even then, if you notice, their numbers are not the same. Their numbers aren't the same as 1995. Remember when Jim Lee and the X-Men, oh my God, the millions na print run. Lagi na ngayon.
Sana meron tayong parang sa yung publisher kasi ni Jerry. Publisher siya ng indie comics.
Oo.
Yun ang ginagawa niya. Ayaw niya yung mga superhero. Puro indie yung kanyang
Meron din naman ganun. But like there are a lot of like, if you go out there, like sila yung gawa ni Ner. Diba? They're all superheroes, but they're indie. You know, it's so many. Meron pa akong paborito, hindi ko alam kung meron pa rin eh. Ano yan? Call center agents? Who made that?
Crime fighting call center
That was
agents.
so awesome! Oh my God!
Si AJ and si Noel, they're doing yung patay kung patay naman.
Diba ang ganda nun?
Yeah.
Ang ganda-ganda nun! Ang ganda-ganda ng art! Para pagbasa ko lang to, ang ganda ng art na to! Sobra ako natuwa! I guess you can do that. I guess
Yeah.
that is foolish. I hope it's the foolishness paid off, but those are the things that really inspire me. And every time I'm humbled because I love going to Komikon. I'm not always able to. So thank you for inviting me. Because every time I go, I see so many of my peers, friends of mine. Like before, Jerry, I met Jerry years and years ago after Phil Bars held Make Your Own X-Band competition. Nanalo nun si the guy who passed away, forgot. Amazing. Blew our minds. But nakasali nun dati, like finalist, ako, si Jerry, who else? Si Oliver, Pulumbalik. Who else were we? And then we would meet sa Cubao. And we would plan yung Lakan. We would plan Lakan because we all had superheroes, right? So akin si Pintado. So I had this, Pintado was like the illustrated man of Ray Bradbury. And then he had mga tattoos should come to life. Yung ganyan yung concept.
I saw the artworks.
Noon pa?
Yung isang bundle na sa bahay.
Oh my God. And then si kay Jerry was si Timawa. Right? Right, oh. And then kami yan, and then we would come, and then Budget was there. Budget was going to write it all. And we would have meetings in whoever's dad's office. This was when we were young and all that. We had dreams together. So one day, this is, but that's why when I go here, it's so inspiring. And I try to buy. Bibili na akong bibili. Tapos babasahin ko lang sa bahay. Makatampak ko lang. But just to keep in touch with, because I'm luckier, I guess I could say I'm luckier than a lot of or some others that I'm able to feed my my hobbies or my luxuries this way. So I try to, when I go to Komikon, bibili talaga ako yung mga comics ng asawa ko, parang mga comics. Babasahin ko lang. Tapos yun, yung mga paborito ko. Closet Agents was good. Tapos si Kubori Kikiam yan, pwede na siyang maging bastos. Okay na, masaya na. Wala na. Hindi na free na sa'yo. Wala siyang culture cash. He's doing that. Sarap kasi people get to be their creative selves and I love it. And Manix is such a rock star, di ba? Parang simula lang sa ano. And Manix, when we started working with him, babe, may contribution si Manix sa Muaha, di ba? Meron ba?
Waha.
Yeah, right? So sumaha so that was Manix, hindi pa siya rockstar nun eh. So it was fun. So it's so nice when I come here and you see the same people that are still working at it, and I guess part of me feels like, I guess, jealous that they get to do that, but at the same time parang it takes so much courage to do it, you know. I don't know if I have that yet.
Sabi mo, your grandfather had 14 kids.
14 kids!
So, pangilan yung dad mo?
He was the first son.
Wow!
He was the first son.
He's
So
number what in the
he was
line?
number 2. He had one sister before him, and then he was the first son. That's why he's the third. And I'm the first son. So then my first son who is the third.
So out of all the 14, ilan yung mga naging artists? Like
Only the men. Oddly enough, there were none of the girls followed suit. Although I think one of my aunties now nagpe-paint na rin, which is like and pretty good. But only the men. Ang sumunod lang si tatay, that's one, and then si Tito Toto who worked for my dad. And then excuse me. And then si Mama Tito Mike, who is a painter. 3, and then for say Tito Joel is a photographer, but 3 mainly na artists. And then one of them is living as an artist. He was an animator. Si Tito Mike was a younger brother ni tatay. His youngest brother worked for animation companies and now is a painter and caricaturist. Sama na sa SKP.
Yes.
Si Tito Mike, di ba?
yes.
So yan, si Tito Toto din. So yan, silang tatlo lang talaga yung artist. Wala nang ibang pa.
Sa inyo, dalawa lang kayo.
Dalawa lang kami. Ako architect, yung kapatid ko creative director. Graduate siya ng fine arts.
Okay. So
UST naman siya.
may influence pa rin yung...
Meron. yung kapatid ko, bago siya nag-fine arts, yung summer, before ng fine arts niya, everyday ang gigising ng papa ko. As in, 7 o'clock, you wake up, sigurado yung gawin mo dapat mong gawin. Pero nag-train siya.
Wow.
Sa papa. Before pa siya napasok sa school, sa UST, siya na lang everyday. Ano yun, Monday to Friday. Half day. Wala siya di kundi mag-drawing ng drawing. And he's good, kapatid ko, pero no, ayaw mag-comics.
Yeah. So, okay, that's good.
Oo.
When you met si Jerry, kilala niyo na yung dad mo, syempre. Was he a fan or gano'n?
Oo, sabi niya.
Ang niligawan natin ni Jerry, tatay mo na.
Oo, sino bang niligawan niya? Ikaw or yung dad mo?
Pumunta siya sa bahay para meet yung father ko. Ayun. Tapos pinakilala siya sa akin nung co-teacher ko na nagturo ako sa high school.
Oo, sabi sa'yo.
Pinakilala ako.
Yun na muna yung tatay.
Kasi sabi niya, ayan, nag-din siya sa comics, parang papa mo, sabi ng co-teacher ko. Ayaw. No.
Oo, pero ginanon siya ni Jerry.
Yes. Yes,
Wala na. Patay na.
Umuuna
Ginanon na
agad.
siya ni Jerry.
Ang bilis-bilis. Oo na.
But how much of yung works ng dad mo? Kasi sabi mo nga, every day he draws. So how much of yung artworks niya yung nasa inyo pa?
Halos wala.
What?
Halos wala. Kasi nung time na yun,
Is it true that
This
they
is-
destroy yung artworks after?
this is my perception. Yung time na yun, creating comics was for most of them, parang it's just a job. Alam mo yun, they just draw,
Oo.
and they submit, and that's
Oo.
it. They
Hindi
get paid.
iniisip na ito di ka ma-collector's thing.
No,
wala.
never. Walang ganun. So, meron lang siguro a few of them na merong foresight na ganun. Na they got their, pero papa ko, he's not there.
Even my grandfather's paintings, there are very few.
Walang
And he was very
documentation,
prolific.
no?
Very prolific. And ang ginagawa nila, hirap na hirap nga yung yung sila yung dad ko with trying to make his book. Because they would have to track down owners.
Oo.
And so it's hard. It's, yun nga, hindi nga kasi,
Tama ka, career artist.
kanina, trabaho lang. Trabaho lang. May commission, gawa. So hindi siya yung, like, for example, ngayon yung original pencils, original
Yeah.
art, yan, wala. Ganun eh.
Is it true dati daw na, di ba yung, kasi ngayon yung piracy, di ba? So, ang dati daw ginagawa sa comics actually, kapag may mga, kapag natapos na yung comics, they destroy it.
Kasi I think ang idea ng mga publishers ng araw, like Legacies and others, I think ang kanilang idea noon is they own the entire thing na pinapublish nila. I think hindi nila nagigets yung publishing rights lang yung kanila. Parang gano'n, hindi yung artwork.
It's the same naman, I guess, ni Marvel din, the same eh. It's like,
Yeah, it took a
anything that
while.
came out, kanila, di ba?
It took a while, I think, after nun. At least, I think merong nag-contest ng idea nun.
Si Mars Ravelo, right? When Mars Ravelo came out with Darna na, that was his na. Because the original iteration of Darna was Varga.
Yeah.
And when he moved, he left that publishing company, he couldn't bring Varga with him because hindi na sa kanila. So parang ganun yung nangyari. And then thereafter, everything that Mars Ravelo published, I think he was a publisher, so everything that he published, kanya.
Oh, yung Ravelo Comics.
Oh. So that way, he was able to keep all of the properties that he was able to. It's one of the more successful
Kaya nga
stories.
ibang collector, alam ko, merong mga tinatapon kasi
Yeah.
publishing house. Hindi mo nakaabang doon
Ah.
to get
The artworks.
the artworks. So yun nga naman, free for all, basura na eh. Di ba?
Tsaka hindi din dati, I remember, and you don't know kasi, because all of the collectors thing happens only now,
Yeah.
in our age, in the past 20 years siguro. When I was growing up, binabasa ka pa yung original X-Men 1 and stuff like that. Ay naku, kung kaya ko na mag-time machine, di ba? yung maalala mo kung gaano lang kamahal yun,
Yeah.
parang, sakit. Kasi talaga dati, mga binibili pa yan, yung mga kapatid ng tatay ko, pupunta pa sila sa Cubao. Kasi doon yung bagsakan ng mga comics, Quiapo, sa Quiapo. Doon magbabagsak ng comics na galing pa sa States. I think siguro malapit kasi sa Pier or something, I don't know. Pero doon sila bumibili, sa Quiapo pa. Tapos yung bibili na yung original na Marvel, hindi yung reprint ng National Bookstore, ha? Naalala mo dati yung panahon na nagre-reprint yung National Bookstore? Sa likod,
May listahan
National
sa
Bookstore may
likod.
listahan sa likod, di ba?
Yeah.
Yun naman ang binibili sa akin ng lola ko, who was also an artist. And not my mom's mother. Yun, so yung binibili sa akin ni lola, mga National Bookstore. Pero sila Tito Toto, Tito Mike, yan lumaki yan, nagbabasehan ng mga original na X-Men, mga Thor, maisip ko ngayon, parang first appearance na, yung Wolverine, ganyan, parang art. Time machine. Kaya kung alam na lang natin di ba? Papasa-pasa mo lang, hindi mo inaalagaan, you know? I don't think there was a collector's mindset before. No, that's, I think,
Si Jerry, wala namang collector's mindset. I mean, pagdating sa comics niya. I
same.
mean, parang yung mga binibili niya, gusto niya, tuwa siya na may mga creases, ibig sabihin daw, nabasa na niya.
Ako yung Dark Knight ko, for example, I had the Dark Knight, yung original na lumabas ni... Tsaka yung mga pinahiram ko lahat yun. Kasi sobra ako tuwa sa storya. Pinahiram ko sa mga ibang tao, tapos babalik sa akin, yung mga iba hindi bumabalik.
Yun ang malungkot.
Pero, kasi because you want to share it.
Sana shinare din.
Pero yan, yung Kingdom Come ko, when it came, kasi I had the 4 issues, talaga pinapahiram ko talaga. Yung kay Frank Miller, talaga, this blew my mind, papahiram ko. So ngayon, na-realize ko. Pero ngayon, at least now, I have the resources to buy the collector's edition or something. Parang kung nabawi ko na lang yung mga pinahiram ko noon. No? Parang,
Si Sir Hal, nung kausap namin si Sir Hal Santiago yesterday, sabi nga niya, it's yung dati may mga artworks siya, ganyan. Tapos, yung mga comics dati. Tapos makikita na lang niya, pinambabalot ng pagkain, di ba yung pagbalot ng isda, and all that.
Tinapa.
Di ba? So, wala pa talaga yung...
parang dyaryo lang siya
It's like, dyaryo lang.
But si Mang Hal, I think he's one of those na he had foresight about his artwork. Nakuha niya, marami siyang nakuha. Na yung sarili niya na original pages.
Yeah.
Marami siyang nakuha. Na was able to get it back from the comic.
pero I think what does Marvel do with Jerry's work? He gets to keep them, di ba?
Yes. Ngayon, ganun na. Property na ng artist.
Parang he
Yung
just
physical-
scans lang.
Yung physical art mismo.
Ganun na nga, ganun. Buti naman.
Yeah, siguro yung related question there is, knowing now what we know, are you taking any steps for preserving some of the works that you have for historical purposes? And the other part there, it's the estate planning because of the copyright. Ito lang kasi kahapon eh. Kasi comics museum kahapon eh.
Legit question yan.
Hindi ako.
We talked about it yesterday.
Hindi kasi like in the future, like paano yung reprinting ng work ng lolo mo. That's
Legit
why you
question
need
yan.
that's why you need
Oo.
Estate planning.
Kami ni Jerry,
For that.
wala kaming heirs. But yung father ko, yung kapatid ko, marami. So, sila na bahala.
Is anyone on your brother's side mo interested?
Malay mo later, they're just kids. So, we don't know kung
Very
Here's a question, sorry. But you say you have no heirs, di ba? Who is tasked to continue the San Pablo Museum?
That's what
And all of the properties there?
Actually, pinag-iisipan namin yan ni Jerry. Yun yung kahapon.
Because that's
Wala pa kami-
really
That was my question to them yesterday. And then in the case of Jerry, you have no heirs. So how if tomorrow we all die, I mean kasama na ako halimbawa. So para walang personalan. No. Like
Hindi naman kailangan tomorrow, di ba? Kahit na 50 years later tomorrow kasi.
example, kasi heirs eh. Baka mag-anak pa sila eh. Hindi, baka mag-anak pa sila next year eh. Hindi, baka mag-anak pa sila eh. Kaya tomorrow, parang ano yung question, like, whose who's preserving Jerry's works? Parang who's tasked with the rights to it?
Yeah, kasi di ba? Tayo, we preserve the works of our fathers, grandfathers. Who will be preserving the works?
And then I will preempt there because Jerry said public domain. Just remember, public domain takes into effect 50 years after death. So, baka by then, mawala na yung original works ni Jerry. So, parang...
So, I will defer to Jerry's answer yesterday. So, I still have to talk about it. We are talking about it. Wala pa lang kaming
Solution.
Yeah.
Pero sino yung... we want kasi nga, tama yung gusto ko yung sinabi niya kasi agree ako doon, na hindi lang basta mamamana, kailangan may passion din sila to share. Kasi ayoko nung collect lang just to make money tapos isi-sell lang.
Yun ang mali eh.
Yeah.
Kasi ang idea namin to collect it and to share with other people.
Continue the advocacy.
Oo, same
Yeah.
na.
Having said that, kung ganun yung philosophy nyo kay Jerry, for your father naman, wala bang ganung worry din na...
Kasama ng museum yung gawa ng papa. Kasi yun lang yung natira sa amin.
Okay.
Walang natira sa amin.
Well, I would hope, because I don't know what my dad's plans are, but I would hope he is ensuring that, knowing that he has plans for my grandfather's art book. I think that's the legacy that we're ensuring. As for who owns the particular art, it belongs to the collectors, right? Because ganun talaga eh. And then there was nothing left. As for the characters, I think history can have them. As in, like you say, Sakay and Moy and stuff like that. I don't think those are characters that will be revived, or this is not a property I don't think I should worry about or anything like that. And then my dad, whatever he's doing for his legacy, hopefully he's ensuring that kaya yung Mango Comics. The Mango Comics is a comic book company that exists right now in name only, right? We have no staff, we have no so it's just we publish some great books. Lastic Man, super proud of that work where we got Jerry to write and Arnold to draw. Yeah, oh my God, still one of my favorite. I don't know. At that time kasi we produced it, we really said, okay, you artists, you have a stake in this. This is partly yours. Kasi it was in the contract. It was in the contract that my dad's friend na lawyer wrote. Right? Na you guys are part owners of this. This is yours. So I don't know moving forward, like what happens, like when the time comes and my dad decides to do comics in the next life or whatever. I don't know what's left for that. As far as I'm concerned, he has plans. He has more concrete plans about comics than I do. And I'm just hoping that he's taking care of that, because I can only trust him. Because that's his thing. That's his. As far as preserving legacies is concerned, that's what he's working on now. He's preserving all Filipino artists' legacies.
Yeah, your dad is talagang super, like he did yung Pika, tapos he does all those talks abroad about Filipino comics.
It's for Filipino comics. It's for the artists. It's for there are few people that you will meet who are more passionate about. There's Jerry, and then there's my dad, whom I know, who are passionate about Filipino comics and Filipino creators. Ako kasi I'm always gun shy as far as those things are concerned, but my dad is there. He's like he will die for Filipino comics, as in almost literally, kasi he will work himself to the bone for the artists. And I'm not saying this because he's my dad or I want to build him up like that, but just because he's like that, and I'm not like that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. It's impressive because he will do that, and just like Jerry, that's why I think they get along so well. Because Jerry is like there's a love for legacy. There's a love for history. And I love it, but I don't have the same. Not necessarily the passion. But, I guess I'm concerned with other things, I mean, adulting, aside from adulting, I do have my hobbies, but my comics is not my main passion. As in, like, toys are my passion. As in, it's not, oo. So, hindi ko siya maalagaan. Yun yung sinasabi ko, hindi ko siya kayang alagaan as me now. So, I'm hoping that my father, who is more, is much wiser than I in terms of that sa comics, sana may plano na talaga siya dyan. I mean,
it's difficult,
diba?
It's difficult to find somebody, iniisip namin, mga universities kaya, mga museum kaya, mga ganun. Pero, what if
I think it should be a foundation,
Oo.
a foundation siguro that just keeps moving forward na.
Yeah, but the foundation needs money. Yun naman yung...
Oh, I mean, a foundation, but like I said, that's why it has to be self-sustaining. Like the museum, like you charge a certain entry fee, and then every now and then it's adulting. There has to be the adulting part of it. The adulting is what keeps things going. The adulting is what allows us to do our childish things, right? So, yun lang yun. So, I hate the contracts and everything, but they're important. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm adulting, but I'm just faking it, Like, how is everybody doing with their adulting? It's hard. It's not a joke, paglabas ko dyan, bata na naman ako, may bibili naman ako ng comics. Kalimutan ko, pag-uwi ng bahay, may mga bayarin. Hindi mo na alam paano, how it works. Ay, kuryente, shit. Tapos, adult nga pala ako. I mean,
That's true.
di ba? Alright, buti pa sana. They could be adults and kids at the same time, making comic books, pinagkikitaan pa. I mean, may mga stars, si Linil can make a living out of that, And then to an extent, si Jerry, that's his living. So,
Final question siguro from anyone in the room before, okay?
yes, you have a question, Nanay? Talagang nanay ko pa yung nagtanong,
Not related to the Yonzon.
Yes, po.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you have different views of how to make your comics. Like, how can you tell us more about that?
My father and I did not agree on a lot of things. And that was very difficult because we worked together and he was my boss. But there were just things that for example, let's do this. Let's just give you an example of how the creative process. My dad was super enamored with the Marvel way of making comics. If you're familiar with the Marvel way, it is you draw, because in order to you draw,
You write.
and then he would put dialogue
words,
after. Right? So what he did was he would instruct during the creation of Darna was that he had described all the pages to the artist. This is mangyayari. This is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. This is gonna happen. And when the pages come, he would put them there, right? I was his editor, which is not a good thing. I was his editor, and I was his editor, but ultimately I had power over the script because I was the one who was laying it out, right? So he had a script, and I actually changed a bit. There were things that didn't make sense. Like there was one panel, I don't know if you remember this, but in Darna, there was a panel where Darna just, boom, Darna, may mga kalaban siya. She changed in front of people. I had to figure out a way in the script to
justify
explain that.
The blood.
This was the way, because in the way I write and the way my dad writes, that's the way he works. He's very, let's say, my dad is very, I am not like that. So when I write a script, for example, the script for my comic, which was supposed to come out in 2003, it is page 1, panel 1. Ito. Almost Alan Moore-ish, almost Neil Gaiman, hindi naman ganun, where it was described. And that's funny because I'm drawing it. It's not that I'm describing it for another artist. I wrote that script even though I knew that I was going to draw it.
It's a guide.
So, So that, can you just imagine, that was the difference in our creative process lang, right? And like you said, you know, what I call foolishness, they just encourage foolishness, but I've always been like, let's not do this, it's just, so, you know, I have so much respect for that kind of courage, so much respect for that kind of foolishness. Let's just call it foolishness. It's so much respect because there's, right now, he has done so much, come out with so much, and broken his back for so much right now. And I don't have anything to show for myself as far as like comics is concerned or anything like that. And I'm okay with that. And that's because it's not, like I said, when you say what were the differences in our philosophy, that was basically it. It was many things philosophically divergent, very philosophically divergent. Because I like new media. I'm a fan of new media. I'm a fan of electronic things. I'm a fan of, like, you know, if somebody likes listening to vinyl records, I'm okay with digitizing everything. So it was like that. So it was hard to work for him. It was really hard to work for him. I love him, he's my dad, but we just didn't have the same approaches to things.
Okay. Bagian, you have something? Okay. Anything else, Papa? Questions? Sige, if nothing, sige, what last question from me, ano yung mga natutunan ninyo, you from your dad, you from your granddad and your dad, na you'd like to share sa amin?
No, ang papa ko kasi walang kinalaman sa comics. It's more like meron siyang malapit siya sa youth. Gusto niya lagi ini-encourage yung mga bata to do things na, you know, creatively. Gusto niya yun eh. Kaya ako, I'm happy din pagka may mga ganito, you know, and there are new people. So, you know, yung idea na yun na kasi siguro ako ng teacher. So, those things. Na meron siyang naniniwala siya sa bata, naniniwala siya na kailangan niya respeto yung youth, kailangan niya i-encourage yung youth, whatever it is na gusto nilang ayun nga one of the things na na magandang artist yung father mo. Pag sinabi mo, gusto kong pumasok sa arts, o sige, saan mo gusto pumasok? Walang
Resistance.
Walang resistance at all. If you want it, sige.
Yun yung sinabi ni Sir Jess with Manix, same rin.
Oo, yung parang yun yung
Mas sikat na si Manix.
Kasi sabi ni Sir Jess a while ago actually, kasi I asked him, kasi he became an artist, pero may sa family ba niya, actually none. At tapos hindi nga raw siya maintindihan ng parents niya nung time na yun, kasi bakit ka mag-artist, yung parang gano'n.
So yun yung basically, ganun din yung ko. Every time although wala akong kids, nagkaroon ako ng maraming students, and yung mga students ko, sabihin nila gusto ko ganito, sige, sa tingin mo, how would you deal with it? Kung may problema ka sa parents mo, how would you deal with it? Ano gusto mong gawin mo? Parang hindi ako para I think that's it. Yun yung natutunan ko sa kanya. Na you encourage kung ano yung sa tingin mo ng gusto ng bata. Oh. Kasi ganun yung
Sa akin, it's clear na my dad and I diverged on a lot of stuff, but it's funny because I think among all of my siblings, I'm the one who grew up to be most like him. It's not a joke. We share more of the same passions. We have. I'm closest to him in terms of like what we like, and also funny enough because he was toughest on me. He was toughest on me more than any of my other.
kasi siguro nakikita niya sarili niya.
He was toughest on me. Like for example, never ako nagka-F ha. Pero when I had really bad grades. By bad is not even F, right? So I had bad grades in college. He stopped supporting me. Just to teach me a lesson. Which was great. No, and I don't take it against him. That's the funny thing. I don't even take it against him. In fact, I thought
You understood.
Not only did I understand, it made me a better person. I love that. I love that he did that. And tapos meron ako mga kapatid ko, may mga nag-F nga na hindi nagtapos. Wala naman nangyari sa kanila. Parang ganun. Parang sa akin, but I learned so much. And in terms of like being tough on, I guess that's why sometimes I'm tough on my kids in the sense that I'm not super tough, but I got it from him. It's like the way that he was tough on me. See, before when I was a kid, I would win a lot of stuff. I would like writing awards and stuff like that, and I just win. And then when I would show it to my dad, he would always be like, "Great, do better." That actually changed my philosophy about winning awards. That changed my, it's like after that, parang, I guess it doesn't matter then. I was like, parang akong nag-rebel in that sense because I guess because it was hard because a lot of my teachers would sell me to my father, right? So he probably had the wrong idea about how good I was doing. But he was really tough on me in that regard. And I love that. I really appreciated that because, and my wife would know, right? Like how I'm with my children. I'm not, it's a sink or swim for them. You know, yung sinasabi mo yung dad mo tumutulong sa I don't help my kids at all. Zero. Like that, papurit na ganyan. Problema mo yan. As in like, as in wala. As in, he taught me that. Because he taught me to fend for myself. He taught me to fend for myself. And then this is like, and my mom would know this. I buy my own toys from when I was very young. As soon as I started earning my own money, and I started earning my own money really early, I would buy my own stuff. So the last toy that he ever bought for me was I was in grade school. And then everything else thereafter I would buy for myself. And that's it. I learned that. I learned that you have to work for your shit. I'm lazy as heck, but I have to earn what I get. And that's something that he taught me because he taught me, he was growing up. 14 sila, di ba?
Yeah.
Siya nag-aalaga sa mga kapatid niya. Gigising siya sa umaga, mag-iigib sila ng tubig. Sila yung naghahugas ng plato, sila nag-ano, ganyan. Pucha, tamad nga ng mga anak ko ngayon compared sa akin kasi hindi nagbubunot, hindi nagwawalis, hindi nag-ano. But, it's something that you learn. Like I said, philosophically we may diverge, but I learned more from him than, I think, almost anyone. I think. That's why I am most like him because, we may, minsan talaga hindi kami kasundo, pero sa totoo lang, pinakamarami akong natutunan sa tatay. Ganun lang talaga, pero, yun eh. Maski, yes, meron ka.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, because you are the eldest and you are his namesake. So,
Kaya pressure.
pressure. If you're talking about the pressure on you compared to your other siblings, wala yun. The pressure is really much greater on you because you're the firstborn and
Yan na.
namesake.
Yeah. On record pa, on record.
It's on.
Yes, on
So,
record.
ano talaga? But, I don't know. It's not, if I may diverse, kasi you were talking about legacies and preserving and all that. I just like to share this. We had Pika, remember?
Yes.
The first Pika was 10 years ago. My husband had a vision for Pika. That was the Philippine International Cartoons Comics and Animation. Sadly, talaga, you have to admit that comics is no longer the. No? We're talking about gaming and animation. Comics might be considered the touchstone of all of this. But still, it's already for the museums. Sa totoo lang, ha? We just came from Japan. It's so different from the times when we you'd ride the train, almost everybody would be
Nagbabasa ng manga, no?
holding a manga. Everybody would be holding a manga, and so, kasi throw away na yan eh. No? And I remember my husband, para talaga siya, kukunin niya, di ba kayo iiwanan? No? Hindi na collecting eh. No? Now, in the last trip that we had, wala ka na makikita nagbabasa ng ano.
Cellphone.
On the train, most of them, even the old people,
Cellphone.
hawak na tablet or phone. So it's the iba na talaga, iba na. There's that's why the is in animation and in games. And Zach's talking about attention spans. Modern man is iba na ang natin, no? The attention span is so we've been all my professional life has been on communication. Okay? And we would have with my kids who were in our business and also my people. And we talk about attention span and how to hold the interest of your audience. Audience, kung sino man yan. Kaya poster lang ginagawa ko, kaya ano yan. We're talking about an audience. And iba na talaga. You have to, so from fonts, even from fonts to just a simple drawing is different. Now, as far as preserving is concerned, I will tell you that up to now, si Bobo Yonzon has not let go of his vision. And one of this is, alam mo, kailangan nila talaga ng institution building. It's fine that you have that the Komikon has survived this law, and it has speech niche following it.
Yes, yes.
Let's face it, talaga,
Yes.
it's really a niche following. But if you think about it, the comics legacy has to be preserved, has to be, he can't run it. Mr. Yonzon was in 2 years ago, I think. 2 years ago, he was in Columbia University. And the university itself has devoted archives where comics pages are preserved in humidity-controlled rooms. And when you go in, you have to, it's really a lot.
And that doesn't exist for
It cannot exist here because it costs money. It costs money. But the way I see it now, developments are we're going up. I think you will see it even in our young people. But the interest has to be sustained. It has to, there should be some pioneering people who would continue, persevere in having the interest.
I think that's why this is important, di ba?
Yes,
This is
it
why Komikon is
It
important.
is important.
It is still important. As in, it is important to have it every year. It is important to have new blood
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
It is important to keep foolish people around every year. No, every year you want people to come. Every year you want to see new Ashcans. Every year you want, doesn't matter. And you want them to pour their heart into it. You want them to succeed or to fail. You want them to get hurt. You want them to go broke. You want them to go hungry. You want them to know that what they did was important. That's like, I'm lucky. I had a hand in producing some really nice comics. Wasn't mine, wasn't my story, but I had a hand in it. I even have a nice shiny award that shouldn't have my name on it. But it's important to keep comics alive. Totoo yan, pang museum yan. Straight to museum. Pag ginawa mo, but...
Service na yun eh.
Oh, but...
It really is, actually.
It is not, like I said, this is what I was saying. I want comics, but I don't know if it should continue in this current form. If the one I'm going to do will continue in its current form, which is sad because it's my script is a comic script, right? It's geared towards like page 1. Kasi yung dinesign ko yung tipo, pag flip mo ng page, bulaga. It's designed for that. The new stuff, di wala ganun. Walang, kasi ang pinaka-gusto ko the great thing about comics is that you're reading it. And a good script will may nakabitin na word dito. Tapos pag flip mo ng page, dun. That's how you write a great comic script because you're thinking of the medium. Not like when you're writing a novel, you're not thinking of your page count. You're just writing a novel. But when you're writing a comic book, you're actually thinking, oh, this is what he sees in this page. What is he going to see on the next page? And then you write it. What is he going to see on this spread? That's planned. But it doesn't...
Kailan ka mag-splash page?
Kailan ka mag-splash page? Naisip mo yun. So that's part of the art of making a comic book.
Yeah.
That's a disappearing art.
Pero, as much as we would love to continue.
Uy, mga tayo.
Yeah.
Umabot tayo.
O, di ba, kanina
Oo.
nagkakwentuhan lang tayo, tapos biglang nag-expand. Pero, yun nga, as much as we would love to continue this, pero it's, actually, ang susunod nating program will be yung documentaries naman ni Sir Jay. So, thank you very much po kay Zach and kay Miss Ilyn.
Thank you.
For sharing yung legacies ninyo. and
Thank you yung mga mag-a-attend kay Jay dahil dumami yung talk namin.
Ayun. So, please stay for those who would like to stay to watch yung, ayan, another legacy, another si Alex Nino. You'll get to meet naman si Alex Nino sa kanyang documentaries. So, thank you po.
Thank you.
Wish I could
Zach, thank you. Mamia, thank you.
Feed your foolishness. Feed my
Time to feed your foolishness.
Feed my wife na.